Winning isn't development. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the issues that I see with kind of the travel baseball culture as a whole. And I think the most important one of these things that I want to start with is that winning isn't development. And I see this a lot in the younger ages, especially in the lower divisions of the younger ages. But from my perspective, the development phases from 8U to 12U should be about teaching kids to understand the game, how to create a love for the game and a love for the work ethic that it takes to be good at the game, help them understand multiple positions, an infield, an outfield, pitch or catch. Like they need to understand the enjoyment and the importance of being versatile as a player to be able to play multiple positions. And to kind of tell a story related to this. So I'm talking to some players right now that are going to join our team here for the next season. And one of the questions that came up was about pitch counts and pitch usage of how I use my pitching rotation. And I explained to them kind of how we use it and how we manage it. And the story that they told me were that they played for a coach who saved their kid, who was an elite level kid at 11 years old, throwing probably 68, 70 miles an hour to 11U, which is just amazing. And this coach would save this kid for he would pitch his innings on Saturday, his 3 innings, and then he would use him for 5 innings on Sunday and would just pitch him until he was out of innings. And this would often lead to this kid throwing like 100 plus pitches in a championship game only because the coach preset his mindset to that was his what he was trying to do was to win that game with his best pitcher on the mound. And while that issue creates a lot of issues for the kids, specifically arm problems down the road, being unhealthy, being burnt out, creates a lot of different things. But putting a coach and a player in that position where all they want to do is win doesn't help the player learn and develop. We have to teach these kids the importance of managing their body, managing their sleep, managing their intake of food and water. It's our job to teach baseball, and at the especially at the 12U and under, and sometimes even 14U and under, I don't see coaches teaching everything, all the aspects of baseball. They're teaching about winning, and they use the resources that they have to set them up in a position to win. Now, when I say that, is it fair to keep weaker players on the bench? Yes. Is it fair to keep players that don't work hard on the bench? Yes. And is it important to teach kids how to win and how to close out games? Yes. All of those things I firmly agree with. But what you have to teach is, I think the most important lesson is how hard you work in practice and how well you perform in practice is what dictates your playing time in games. Okay, I think that's very, very important. If you don't practice with intensity, I, as a coach, do not expect you to play with intensity and don't give you the opportunities that you think you may have earned because I know in practice you're just going through the motions. And B, on top of that, from a development standpoint, if you put teams in successes where they're winning all the time and not really being tested as players, they're going to get a false sense of confidence that when they go to a higher level or they get to high school and they've never really been challenged, and all of a sudden they're playing with guys that outweigh them by 60 pounds, it's just going to be a shock for them. And it may be overwhelming to the point that they quit baseball. So I want to encourage all of us as parents and coaches that in that 8U to 12U window, keep baseball fun, teach them as much as you can about the game, and don't let the win and loss records dictate your level of success. Okay, for me as a coach, the thing that I love to do the most is if I can pitch 10 to 11 players on in pool play, one guy per inning for 2 games and be the 1 seed, I feel like I've already won the tournament at that point. Like to show that we have the versatility and the depth to be able to pitch multiple guys and be able to win games, keep the scores down because our defense can hold. For me, that as a coach is kind of the ultimate sign of development. Even now, I'm coaching a 14-year-old team and I'm trying to pitch 3 guys per game, 2 innings max, sometimes three, and but trying to use three, sometimes four pitchers per game to manage a game is very rewarding for me as a coach to be able to know that I put my team in the right position. And then when we get to the big games and the tough games against, other top end opponents, then you put your best guy out there and you let them compete. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But that's part of the process of learning is you need to give the weaker players opportunities and practice to prove themselves. And then you need to reward your better players for doing that in practice and creating that consistency and creating that effort and energy level in practice to reward them with the playing time that they've earned in practice. So I want to stress again as coaches is winning isn't development. Use your practices to develop players. Put them in a lot of different positions and a lot of opportunities to prove and succeed or to fail and to learn, and then use the games as kind of that reward system to reward those guys that prove themselves in practice to get opportunities in games, and be less concerned with winning and losing and more about them taking the lessons that you teach on a Tuesday or a Wednesday and apply them to the weekend and do them with consistency. If those players fail to learn what you're teaching during the week, we need to go back and continue to reteach that until they can fully understand the concepts that you're asking them to understand. So again, I can't stress this enough. Don't focus on winning, focus on development, focus on teaching baseball, not winning baseball. And I think you will be much more rewarded as your kids grow through the game with the end result. If you don't focus on wins and you focus on teaching at the early ages, once they get to that final stage of their baseball career, the winning will take care of itself. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you later.